morning, students. In previous lectures, we have started with the absorption. In previous two lectures, we have finished with the absorption. In absorption, we have finished with the absorption. What is absorption? Then, which are the different factors that will affect absorption? That we have finished in a last two lectures. Today, I have come up with the next point of absorption, that is mechanisms of drug absorption, and how the drug actually get absorbed in your blood circulation. That mechanisms we are going to learn today. Okay, in that firstly we will look towards the learning outcomes of today's lecture. After completing this today's lecture, you will able to firstly understand various mechanisms of absorption, and secondly you will able to differentiate between what is active and passive absorption processes. Okay, these are the two actual today's learning outcome of our lecture. Then I will start with the absorption. Okay, mechanisms of absorption. Generally, absorption mechanisms are categorized into the three groups. These three groups, first one is a transcellular, or it is also called as a intracellular transport. Then second one is a paracellular, it is also called as a intercellular transport. And third one is vesicular, or it is also called as a corpuscular transport, or another name is a endocytosis. Okay, these are the three basic mechanisms, okay, or three classes of basic mechanism. That is transcellular, it is also called as a intracellular transport. Then paracellular, it is also called as a intercellular transport. And lastly vesicular or corpuscular, it also called as a endocytosis process. Okay, these are the three basic, we can say, class of any drug absorption. Any drug we are taking, it mightly get absorbed by any one of these mechanisms. Now in detail we will look what is actually a transcellular, paracellular and vesicular means. Now in case of transcellular, it means that the movement of drug within from your cell, within your cell, that we can call it as a transcellular. Across the cell only we can call it as a transcellular. In paracellular, in this case the movement of drug is in between the cells. Okay, it is drug will get absorbed by transferring through your barrier from in between the cells. And lastly vesicular, in this case it will get transferred across your cell, but formation of vesicles, and it will get absorbed into the capillaries. Now initially transcellular, as you know that it is across the cell, from the cell the drug will get absorbed by two methods, that is passive process or passive diffusion, and secondly carrier mediated transfer, we also call it as a active transport. By these two methods the transcellular mechanism will happens and drug will get available in your capillaries, or we can say blood. Then in paracellular, the drug will simply directly get transfer across the membrane by through the tight junctioning of your cells, and that particular thing is called as a paracellular. And in vesicular, generally the drug will form a vesicles inside your cells, and then it will get transferred. That process is called as a endocytosis, and that endocytosis again categorized into pinocytosis and phagocytosis. Okay, these are the three, we can say, basic mechanisms of any drug that will get absorbed in your body. Okay, then first we will look towards the transcellular, or it is also called as a intracellular transport. Why we called it as a transport? Because drug will get transferred from one location to the another. That is a movement process, as we have seen in a first lecture, that is ADME. This is all pharmacokinetic processes, that is the movement of drug. Okay, that's why we called it as a transport. Okay, now transcellular, it is defined as the passage of drug across the GI epithelium in three steps involved. Okay, in this case transcellular, the drug will get transferred through the GI epithelium by three steps. First step is a permeation of GI epithelial, means whatever the gastrointestinal epithelial is there, initial stage is a permeation of this GI epithelial. Then second, cell membrane movement across the intracellular place, we can call it as a systoles. Okay, the movement of drug through the cell membrane across the intracellular space, we can call it as a systole. Then permeation of lateral or basolateral membrane, that is the final stage, and then the drug will come into your capillary. But that transcellular mechanism again have a different processes of a drug absorption. These are the first process, we can call it as a passive transport process. It includes the passive diffusion, pore transport, ion pair transport, and facilitated diffusion. And second one is called as a active transport processes, or it is also called as a carrier mediated transport. In that, first primary active transport and secondary active transport, it is also called as a symport and antiport. Okay, these are the processes comes under the transcellular, or we also called it as a intracellular transport. First, passive transport processes, in that passive diffusion, pore transfer, ion pair transfer, facilitated diffusion. These are the four processes come under the passive transport. And in second, there are two processes, that is active transport processes. In that, first primary active transport and second secondary active transport. Now we will start with the passive transport process. Now this transport process do not require energy, that's why we called it as a passive transport process, other than that of molecular motion, that is Brownian motion, to pass through the lipid bilayer. Means this particular process doesn't require any we can say sort of energy to get transport across the membrane. Okay, that's why this process is called as a passive process. Passive transport process can further classified into following steps. Okay, as of we in previous slide also we have seen, that is passive diffusion, pore transport, ion pair transport, facilitated or mediated diffusion. Okay, now in case of passive transport, this process is also called as a downhill process. Okay, why downhill process? Because there is always a movement of drug from higher concentration region to the lower concentration region. That's why we called it as a downhill processes. Okay, now firstly we will look towards the passive diffusion. In passive diffusion, it is also called as a non-ionic diffusion. It is the major process of absorption of drug than 90% of drugs. Means 90% of drugs will get absorbed by the passive diffusion processes. That's why this is a major process of drug absorption in your body. It is defined as the difference in the drug concentration on either side of membrane. Means it is totally depend on the concentration gradient on either side of membrane, and it is well explained by your Fick's law of diffusion. Okay, it is well explained by the Fick's law of diffusion, which states that the drug molecule diffuse from region of higher concentration to the one of lower concentration until the equilibrium is attained, and that the rate of diffusion is directly proportional to the concentration gradient across the membrane. Okay, that is the statement of Fick's law. Fick's law is collectively explain your passive diffusion process. This is the equation of Fick's law, that is dq by dt is equal to dak m by w divided by h into bracket cgit minus c. This thing is called as a cgit minus c, is nothing but your concentration gradient of your drug, and these are the various factors on which your passive diffusion is dependent. Now we will see one by one. The dq by dt is nothing but your rate of drug diffusion. D is a diffusion coefficient. This D is a diffusion coefficient of drug. Then A is the surface area of the absorbing membrane, means whatever the membrane, suppose your stomach or intestine, what will be the surface area of that particular, from where your drug will get absorbed, that particular surface area of absorbing membrane we need to consider. K m by w is nothing but a partitioning coefficient of drug in between membrane and aqueous phase. Then H is nothing but a thickness of the membrane. Okay, whatever the membrane you are using, means your GI or intestine, whatever the thickness of that GI or intestine, that will be the H. And CGIT minus C is nothing but a concentration gradient or difference in the concentration in GI fluid and in a plasma. We simply called it as a concentration gradient of drug across the membrane. Okay, this is all about the passive diffusion. Now in this, from this equation you will able to come to know that the various factors that will impact your passive diffusion are, firstly diffusion coefficient, which is directly proportional with your passive diffusion. If diffusion coefficient is higher, ultimately diffusion of drug from your GI to the we can say bloodstream will be higher. Then if the surface area is higher, GIT or GIT surface area is higher, then also your rate of diffusion will be higher. If partition coefficient is higher, again rate of passive diffusion will be higher. But in case of thickness, if the thickness is more, the rate of diffusion will be slower. Okay, the thickness is inversely proportional with your rate of diffusion. And CGIT minus C, that is concentration gradient. Higher the difference across the membrane, means if the concentration in your GIT is higher than your plasma, then that particular in that case the passive diffusion will be faster one. Okay, these are the various, we can say, from the Fick's law we can able to conclude, or we can able to say that various factors that will impact on your diffusion of drugs. Then secondly we'll start this is all about the passive diffusion. Now interactively we will see how the passive diffusion works. Okay, you might have understood that various last time I have shown you some site regarding that will explain the various processes of we can say absorption. Now in this particular process, in this particular module today's, we will see the how the diffusion process will follow across the membrane. Okay, screen is visible to everyone or not? If the screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now in this particular process, now you can observe we are learning about the simple diffusion. In this they have said that simple diffusion across the biological barriers involves the drug movement down the concentration gradient until the equilibrium is reached between two sides. Okay, that is simply our Fick's law of diffusion. Now we will you can see in this particular figure. Okay, in this particular figure you will observe here is a one pot which is separated by the separator, and we are starting this knob. Okay, we are starting this tab so that it will start entering the water in this. Okay, and then what will happen, you can observe this. When I put here go, now you can observe the pot is going to be filled with the water, and due to this opening it is continuously move on another side, but it will get stabilized when the both side will have equal concentration, that is equilibrium of that particular drug will get attained. Okay, that's why it is called as a simple diffusion. That means there is no need of requirement of any energy for the transfer of drug across this membrane. Okay, then there only need of only the concentration gradient, means in now look, when the concentration gradient in this chamber will be high, then the drug will move from this to this. Okay, and it will move up to only the equilibrium is attained when the concentration at both side will get same. Till then only it will, we can say, it will transport the drug across the membrane. After equilibrium, the drug will get the absorption of drug will get stopped. Okay, but now you tell me, in the Fick's law it is said that when the this particular passive diffusion will occur till only the equilibrium is attained. Now you tell me, it means that whenever the concentration of drug in your stomach and in your plasma will get equal, according to Fick's law the absorption will get stopped. Is it the condition in our body, the absorption will get stopped or not? Just reply, unmute yourself and give me the answer.
That condition is never maintained.
That condition is never maintained. Why? You are right, that condition is never maintained, but why that condition is never maintained?
Due to the flow, never
okay,
blood sober होता.
Okay. Anyone? Another? Yes, why this condition is not maintained in our body? Okay. Now in this case, as we have given answer that this condition is not maintained, that is right. This condition means equilibrium condition will never maintain, or never, your drug concentration in your GIT and in plasma will never get equilibriate. The reason is that whenever the drug come in your plasma, initially after absorption it will not remain in your plasma, it will get distributed in a various, we can say, various tissues. We can call it as a distribution. Due to that distribution, the plasma drug concentration again decreases, and ultimately it get decreases means your concentration in GIT again will become a higher, and due to that reason the concentration gradient will get maintained. Okay, and second case, the drug elimination process means your metabolism and excretion. Due to that also there is a concentration in your plasma will get decreases, and ultimately the concentration gradient will get maintained. Okay, that's why the equilibrium process, the equilibrium in your absorption will never attain, and that particular thing is called as a sink condition. Okay, this thing is called as a maintenance of sink condition. That sink condition, due to the maintenance of sink condition, the passive diffusion is a continuous process in our GIT for the absorption. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone how the equilibrium is not attained during the passive diffusion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then secondly we will start
Yes,
second.
sir.
Okay, second passive transport process, that we can call it as a pore transport. Okay, it is also known as a convective transport or bulk flow or filtration. The second process is pore transfer. It is also called as a connective transport, bulk flow or filtration. It is important absorption process for only the low molecular weight substances which is having less than 100 Dalton molecular weight or molecular size. Low molecular size smaller than the diameter of pore means whatever the pores present in your cells, if the diameter size is smaller, and generally water soluble drugs through narrow aqueous filled channels or the pores in the membrane structure. Okay, the example of this, the drugs, or we can say the molecules that will get transport across the membrane by pore transport are urea, water and sugars that will get absorbed by the pore transport methods. Okay, the driving force for this passage of drug is hydrostatic or osmotic pressure differences across the membrane. Likewise, in passive diffusion, the driving force is your concentration gradient. Here you don't require any energy again, but the transfer is due to only hydrostatic or osmotic pressure differences across the membrane. Means whatever the suppose this is a membrane, the black color, this is the membrane, whatever the hydrostatic or osmotic pressure at a peritoneum and whatever the hydrostatic pressure or osmotic pressure at a we can say blood, that particular difference means if hydrostatic pressure at peritoneum is high and if at a blood it is low, then there is a transfer due to that particular pressure. Okay, here transfer is not due to the concentration gradient, but here the concentration is due to hydrostatic or osmotic pressure difference across the membrane. That particular thing is called as a pore transfer, but it is only possible whenever your drug is having low molecular weight, say less than 100 Dalton. In that case only the drug will get crossed by the pore transport, and the examples of urea, water and sugars. Okay, then third a passive process we can start with, that is ion pair transfer. Now what happens in this process, the absorption of drug is like a quaternary ammonium compound and a sulfonic acid which ionize, converts into molecules under all pH condition known as a ion pair transport. Means what happens, suppose we have taken an example of quaternary ammonium compounds that is having positive charge and sulfonic acids which is having negative charge. Okay, in that cases this particular drug will get ionized in under all pH condition. Okay, whatever the pH in your GI tract, in that condition it will get ionized, it will form a different ions, and these ions will get paired with any endogenous substances, and then it will cross the biomembrane. Okay, such a neutral complexes have both requirement of lipophilicity as well as aqueous solubility and passive diffusion. Such a phenomenon is called as a ion transport. The example of this is propranolol, a basic drug that forms an ion pair with oleic acid, that is endogenous substances that is present in our body only and is absorbed by this mechanism. Now by look on this figure you will get a clear idea. Whatever your drug is there, if it will get ionized, okay, then it will form a cations and anions. Initially cationic drug will form a complex with the endogenous substance present in our GI lumen, and it will form a neutral complex, and that neutral complex will get passively diffusion. Means whatever the first mechanism you have seen, that is passive diffusion, by that mechanism it will cross the barrier and again when it will reach into the blood, it will again get dissociate, and that free drug will get available in a blood stream. Okay, that particular thing is called as ion pair transfer. In this ion pair transfer, that is again related, the process is governed by only the concentration gradient of this, that is neutral ion pair complex. Whatever the complex concentration gradient is there, that concentration gradient will act as a driving force, and it is also possible by passive diffusion. But before passive diffusion, drug and endogenous substances will form a neutral complex. Okay, and that's why we called it as a ion pair transfer. Means two ions comes together, they will form a pair. The concentration of this pair in a GI lumen will be higher, and in a blood it will be less, so that due to this concentration gradient, this neutral ion pair transfer will get cross this barrier membrane, and again it will get dissociate in your blood, and your drug is freely available in your systemic circulation. That's why we called it as a ion pair transfer. Okay, is it clear? Then next we will start with the facilitated diffusion. Now facilitated diffusion is also called as a it is also carrier mediated system that operates down the concentration gradient, downhill transport, but at much faster rate than the occurred by simple passive diffusion. It is also, we can say, similar like a carrier mediated transport, but it is comes under the diffusion process, operates the downhill process. It operates the downhill process, means it is a carrier, there is a carrier, but depending the attachment of drug is a carrier, but it is a downhill process, means it is act against the act towards the concentration gradient, means that's why it will comes under the diffusion process. Okay, the driving force for the is a concentration gradient. Here also the driving force is a concentration gradient, hence we can call it as a passive process. Okay, since the no energy expenditure is involved, the process is not initiated by metabolic poisons that interference with the energy production. Now look at the figure, you will get the clear idea about the facilitated diffusion, the absorption of your vitamin B12. Now this is a vitamin B12, then there is a presence of one intrinsic factor and carrier. The vitamin B12 and intrinsic factor will form a complex with this membrane carrier. Okay, and this membrane carrier will cross the drug across the membrane, leave it around the into your bloodstream, and again this carrier come back and ready to take another carrier. Due to this intrinsic factor and vitamin B12 we can say complexation, the concentration gradient of these two, that is vitamin B12 and intrinsic factor, if it is higher in this GI lumen and lower in the blood, then the carrier will continuously transfer this particular vitamin B12 around the across the membrane till the equilibrium is attained, but equilibrium is never attained, and this absorption is go on. As this is also again operates down the concentration gradient, so that we also called it as a downhill process. Means whatever the processes are called downhill, first your passive diffusion, then your pore transport and facilitated diffusion, these are all we can say downhill process. This is facilitated diffusion process, by which we can say the drug will get absorbed across the membrane. Now secondly, we'll start with the now this is all about the passive diffusion. We have seen the passive transport processes. In that we have seen the four processes: passive diffusion, pore transport, ion pair transport, and lastly facilitated diffusion. Okay, this is all passive processes, means they don't require any energy for the transfer of drug molecule across the membrane. Now we'll start with the active transport processes, or it is also called as a carrier mediated processes. Now what happens in this mode of drug entry is also involves specific carrier proteins. For transport of drug molecule, you will require specific transport or specific carrier proteins. Then active transport is energy dependent, and it is driven by the hydrolysis of adenosine triphosphate into the adenosine diphosphate. Okay, the active transport is energy dependent, and that energy is governed by the hydrolysis of only adenosine triphosphate, that is ATP, into the adenosine diphosphate, that is ADP. Then it is capable of moving drugs against concentration gradients. Means it is against, means if the concentration gradient is a difference means it is not operate depend on, it is non-dependent on the concentration gradient. It can move the drug from lower concentration region to the higher concentration region. That's why we call it as the movement is against the concentration gradient. Carrier may be inhibited by the compounds that compete for the same carrier. Means the inhibition of carrier is possible in active transport. Once your carrier will get saturated, further absorption of that particular drug is not possible by the active transport processes. Now we will see the again similar whatever we have seen for the passive, we will see the interactive module for the active transport. Okay. Now there is an active influx. In active actually two processes comes, that is efflux and efflux transport. Now first we will start with the efflux transport. The active transport involves the movement against the concentration gradient that we have seen. Read it here. Active transport involves the movement against the concentration gradient and requires the energy, and it is subject to specificity and completion. Okay. Then second, this model demonstrates the how active efflux transport can against keeping a drug molecule out of the compartment. Now what is efflux and influx, that we are going to differentiate between this interactive module. Now again I will put the button go. Now you can see the drug will have, but the concentration gradient is there still. Okay. The drug will move across the concentration gradient. Again, due to efflux, the drug will comes into your another chamber, and it will remain as it is. Means the concentration gradient will not change more due to that efflux. That particular model is called as an active efflux. Okay. Then second, we will see now active influx transport. In an active influx transport, the active influx transport involves a movement against a concentration gradient that requires energy and thus subject to specific and completion. Now this previous model, it is a efflux model. Okay, you can observe this is a pump which is pumping your drug is moving across the concentration gradient, but due to this pump and energy, the drug is again coming into your initial chamber. That is called as a efflux. Means from where it is moving, again it will comes in the same chamber. We can call it as a efflux transport. Now we will start with the influx transport. Now influx transport, generally a active transport of drug absorption. Now you can observe the drug initially in suppose this chamber is your GI. Okay, it is initially crossed by we can say concentration gradient, as well as you can say the pump is here which is continuously pumping your drug across the membrane. Okay, means here there is a no equilibrium is attained. The driving force is not your concentration gradient, but whatever the energy you are using for the transfer of that particular drug, that is called as an active influx transfer. Okay, and mostly the drugs will use active influx transfer for the transfer of drug molecule across the membrane. Okay, is it clear to everyone from this particular module what is active influx and active efflux? Hello, is it clear to everyone? Just say me yes or no.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes. Hello.
समजलंय सर.
नाही समजलं का?
समजलंय.
Okay, okay. Then next point in that active transport, this transport process requires the energy from ATP to the move the drug molecules from extracellular to the intracellular fluid. Now this active transport is of two type again. Active transport, firstly it is a primary active transport, and secondly we can call it as a secondary active transport. Secondary active transport further divide into two, that is symport, that is co-transport, and second one is called as a antiport. It is also called as a counter transport. Now adenosine triphosphate, that is ATP, is a complex organic chemical that provides energy to drive many processes in a living cell. Okay, example muscle contraction, nerve impulse propagation, and chemical synthesis of your certain enzymes. In that case the ATP will give you the energy for these processes, and same ATP we can use for the transport of drug molecule across the membrane. Now we will see the first primary active transport. Now what is primary active transport? In this process there is a there is a direct ATP requirement. Moreover, the process transfer only one ion or molecule in only one direction, and hence it is called as a uniporter. Okay, in this case, primary active transport, there is a direct use of energy for the transport of drug across the membrane, and this transport is only one direction. Okay, means only one direction that particular transport will occur. That's why it is called as a uniporter. Okay, and the example is absorption of glucose by the primary active transport. That you can observe in this particular figure, that is primary active transport. These are the drug molecules. Okay, they will get cross across the membrane. Okay, the concentration in a one side of membrane is less, in another side membrane is higher. Still it will get transfer in this direction by the use of ATP. The ATP will get converted into ADP, that is adenosine diphosphate, and drug molecule will get transfer. That is direct transfer, direct utilization of energy for the transport of drug molecules, and in only one direction. Means again, it is not possible that this particular drug, means efflux is not possible, that drug will again comes in a we can say initial site. That is not possible in that primary active transport. This is called as a primary active transport or uniporter, one direction, only one direction movement is there. That's why we can call it as a uniporter. And the example is absorption of glucose. Okay, that is an example of this particular we can say this particular primary active transport. Here you can observe it is a concentration gradient. From here to here it should be a concentration gradient, but it will move against the concentration gradient. That's why we called it as a active transport, primary active transport process. Now we'll start with the secondary active transport. In this process there is no direct requirement of ATP, that is takes advantage of previously existing concentration gradient. Okay, there is no actual direct ATP requirement, it take advantage only. The energy required for transporting an ion aids transport of the another ions or molecules. Hence we also called it as a co-transport or coupled transport. Means in this case, whatever the drug will going to absorb, it will not directly utilize the energy ATP, but whatever the drugs we are giving with another drug, if one drug will have get transferred across the membrane by passive primary active process, the same process it will get absorbed. It will take advantage of previous process and then it will get absorbed. Okay, so that we can say it is a together co-transport, means transfer of both the ions togetherly. That's why we can call it as a co-transfer or secondary transfer. And this transfer is either in a same direction or in a opposite direction. Okay, that direction is depending on that direction. We can classify the secondary active transport into symport and antiport. That is co-transport, means in the same direction, involves the movement of both molecules in the same direction. The example is sodium plus the glucose sympporters. This will transfer the molecules in a same direction. And antiport involves the movement of molecules in the opposite direction. Example, H plus ions using sodium gradient in the kidneys. Now we will see it in a figure. Now how symport will occur. Now you know that concentration gradient. Okay, in that this is drug A and suppose this is drug B. The drug A will get absorbed by the passive diffusion. Okay, then it will use a ADP and ATP, and by similar in the same way with that this absorption of drug A, your drug B will also get absorbed. So means drug B will not utilize any energy, still it will get absorbed. So that particular thing is called as a symporter in a one direction. In case of antiport, the A drug will get absorbed. Okay, when the drug A will get absorbed, drug B will get we can say influx through your one location to again another. That particular thing is called as an antiport or we can say counter transport. Okay, this is clear. This is all about the primary active transport and secondary active transport. Okay, this is all about the we can say first type of mechanism that will comes under this, that is transcellular drug absorption. Now we will start with the now firstly we will look the difference between the carrier mediated and passive transport. Okay, passive diffusion and active diffusion, active transport. Now in passive diffusion, you can observe whenever the drug concentration gradient is there, that is, if you plot a graph, rate of absorption versus concentration of drug at absorption site, the graph will be linear, means whatever the concentration of drug at absorption site will go on increasing. Ultimately, the concentration of drug will go on increasing only in case of passive processes. In case of active, or we can say carrier mediated transport, whenever you go on increasing concentration of drug at absorption site, the concentration in a plasma or drug that will get absorbed, which will go on increasing, but at a certain level. Once your carrier will get saturated, then no further possibilities of absorption, so that the rate of absorption will remain constant after that. Okay, once the carrier will get saturated, the absorption will be constant. That means no further absorption is possible in case of this particular we can say carrier mediated or active transport. This is a difference between these. This is all about the transcellular absorption of drug molecules. Now we will look towards the little bit comparison between active transport and passive transport process. Now in case of active transport processes, what will happen? The GI lumen, the drug concentration is high, okay, and in a blood region the drug concentration is low, so that the this particular drug will get transferred from higher to the low concentration region till the equilibrium is attained. Okay, that's why this process is called as a downhill process. Okay, that is the reason this process is called as a downhill process. In active process, initially the concentration at GI tract in your GI lumen is very low, and it will transfers across the membrane against the concentration gradient, and the concentration in a blood is a high. Still the concentration the transfer of drug molecule is possible by the active transport process, and that's why it is called as a uphill process. Okay, that's why active transport process is called as a uphill process. That is the basic difference between passive diffusion and active transport. Now initially we have finished first mechanism, that is transcellular, okay, or intracellular transport. Now we will start with the second type of mechanism, that is paracellular, or it is also called as a intercellular transport of drug. Now it is defined as the transport of drug through the junctions between the GI epithelial cells. Means whatever the epithelial cell, here you can observe in this figure, whatever the junction in between this particular epithelial cell, we can call it as a transfer of we can call it as an intercellular or paracellular absorption. The two paracellular transport mechanism involves in a drug absorption are, there are two mechanisms that will only we can say observe in a paracellular, that is permeation through tight junction of epithelial cells, means the permeation through this tight junctioning, and second one is called as a persorption. Now firstly we will look toward the permeation through tight junctioning of epithelial cells. This process basically occurs through openings with a little bigger than the aqueous pores, means whatever we have seen in a pore transfer, it is generally a same opening but little bit more, and the compounds such as insulin, cardiac glycoside are kept up this mechanism, means the insulin and cardiac glycoside will transfer by this mechanism due to this permeation through tight junctioning of this GI epithelial cells. Now persorption, this permeation of drug through the temporary openings formed by the shading, means if there is some skin conditions or some biological conditions will happen, okay, there is a shading of our GI tract, in that case there is a temporary openings will get formed, and due to that temporary openings, drug openings in a epithelial cell, drug will get absorbed into blood. That particular thing is called as a persorption. Okay, this is second mechanism, paracellular, and very less drugs will get absorbed by the paracellular transport or intercellular transport of drugs. Then next we will start, that is vesicular or corpuscular transport. Now vesicular, all of you know that what is vesicular transport. The vesicular, it is the minor transport mechanism which involves the engulfing extracellular materials within a segment of cell membrane to form a vesicles. Means whatever the drug which will get absorbed, it is also called as endocytosis. it will form vesicles in your membrane, and through that vesicles the drug will get cross the membrane. That particular thing is called as a vesicular transport or corpuscular transport, or the process is known as a endocytosis. Endocytosis further divided into two, that is phagocytosis and pinocytosis. Phagocytosis is also called as a cell eating, means the absorptive uptake of solid particles. Okay, if your drug is remain in a solid state, then also there is absorption due to the phagocytosis, that we can call it, due to that we can call it as a cell eating. And the pinocytosis, the uptake of fluid solute, means if your drug will get convert into soluble form, then also the molecules will get cross the membrane by drinking the molecules, the cells will drink that molecule, we can call it as a pinocytosis. This is all about the vesicular or corpuscular transport. Okay, this is the three basic mechanisms, that is transcellular, paracellular and vesicular. Okay, now we will see again some interactive modules for this. Now this is first we have seen the first two, that is what is simple diffusion, what is active efflux transport we have seen, then what is active influx transport, that also we have seen. Okay, now third module, fourth, now human efflux model. Now what happens when we have given a drug with a PG glycoprotein? Now here look, read it here. When P glycoprotein, that is PGP, is an active transporter that protects the body from the harmful substances, including some drugs, by this transporting the substances out of the body or out of sensitive organs. Examples. Okay, now what happens, the PGP protein is a transport system that protects our body from some harmful substances, including some drugs. It includes the drug also, and due to that also there is a variation in your absorption. The examples, it transports the drug back out of the gut wall into the gut lumen, thus reducing the absorption. Now how it will happen? Now suppose, consider here I am clicking the gut. First example we are looking gut, and if you are giving a drug with a PGP active, if your PGP P glycoprotein is active, then what will happen? You can look. Okay, this red dot will clears, the drug will get absorbed. The blue linings will suggest that drug will get absorbed, but due to PGP active, the drug will again pull back, that is efflux. Okay, again pull back in a GIT. That particularly we can call it as a efflux transport, and it will happens over all your GI tract. Okay, it will happen over all your we can say intestine. Okay, and suppose in a gut only, if we are giving a drug which with a PGP inhibitor, okay, if you are given a PGP inhibitor, then there is a absorption is there, but there is a no efflux. Okay, efflux is not possible. This is the first, we can say, example. Now we will look towards the second example. It helps to keep some drugs out of the brain. Now we will consider again in a case of brain. Now what happen in a brain? If you are giving a drug with a PGP active, what will happen? Look at the animation. The drug will get absorbed into your brain, and again it will efflux the drug outside your brain cells. Okay, due to the active P glycoproteins. Okay, and if you are giving PGP inhibitor, then what will happen? The drug will get absorbed, but it will not get out efflux out your brain. Okay, that is the reason. That is also one of the, we can say, absorption, because here again transfer across the membrane is required. Okay, then third case, it transport the drug out of the kidney into the urine. Some drugs inhibit pre-glycoprotein, allowing more of the drugs to be absorbed or less exits, and following more of the drug to be reached in the such as a brain. Okay, now we will look it in a kidney. If you are giving a drug which is having a PGP active, then you can observe here. Okay, what will happen? The drug will go in a kidney, and again it will efflux back from the kidney. If you are giving PGP inhibited, then drug will remain in your kidney only. Okay, and it will not efflux out of your kidney. Okay, this is interactive module. You can easily we can say drug transport. We can easily study how the drug transport will play a role in a gut, then brain and kidneys. Okay, now next and last module of a liver. Now liver human influx model. This is a efflux model. Previous was a efflux model, and now we will see the influx model. Now some substances or drugs do not diffuse well across the membrane. Okay, this is some substances or drugs do not diffuse well across the membrane, usually because the substances are very lipid soluble. Okay, if the substances are very lipid soluble, they will not diffuse well across the membrane. This leads to poor absorption from the gut or the poor diffusion into the cell. Okay, that is the reason the active transporter facilitate this absorption from the gut or the transport into the cell. Example of drugs utilize the transport is between levodopa and methotrexate. Now we will take the example. Now liver, if we give a drug with a active influx transporter, what will happen in a liver? Look at the animation. The drug will easily reach into the liver and it will get metabolized. If we are giving drug with an active influx transporter inhibitor, okay, then there is no chances of the drug will reach to that particular liver. Okay, this is all. This is for the liver. Now we will look for the cell. If you are considering a cell, okay, that cell will get absorbed with a drug. If you are giving drug with an influx transporter, what will happen? The drug from blood will get transport this capillary barrier and enter into your cell. And if you are giving a drug with an active influx transporter inhibitor, okay, we have inhibit, then there is no transfer across the blood, it will not reach into the cell. Same condition is applicable for your, or same mechanism it will show in your drug transport or drug absorption. Okay, this is interactive module. Last lecture I also have told you, you can just go on this site, that is icporg.nz. There is a most of your pharmacokinetic processes are having this interactive module. You can easily understand what happens in a particular process by simply animating that particular process according to our need. Okay, this is all about the today's lecture, that is transport system, drug absorption and transport of drug across the membrane. Various mechanisms we have learned. I am recording this video, and this lectures is also available on my YouTube channel. If you want a recording of these particular lectures, you can subscribe my YouTube channel. Then thank you. If anyone is having any query, you can ask now. Kiran Parbane, unmute yourself. Okay. Tell me various we can say mechanisms of drug absorption. Initially classifies into 3 groups. Which are these 3 groups?
Transcellular, parenteral, paracellular, cellular.
Okay. Last vesicular. Okay, these are the 3 basic groups. Okay, now we'll firstly look towards the transcellular. Now, okay. Now next. Okay, now I will ask next Rushikesh Nangre. Unmute yourself. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me transcellular. Which are the processes comes under the transcellular absorption?
Passive transport and active transport.
Okay, in passive. Okay, unmute yourself. Now I will ask next Sohail Sayyed. Tell me active transport. Which are the examples of active transport?
Passive diffusion and active diffusion.
I am asking about passive transport. In passive transport, which are the processes comes? Okay.
Facilitating transport.
Facilitated diffusion. Ion pair transfer. And first, passive diffusion. Okay. Prajakta Kate.
Yes, sir.
Tell me active transport. Which are the processes falls under the active transport?
Primary active transport and secondary active transport.
Okay. Rutuja Kharmale.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what is primary active transport?
Sir, ATP is directly used.
Okay, means direct use of energy is required in a primary active transport. Okay, Dipali Thete, unmute yourself and tell me what is secondary active transport?
Yes, sir.
What is secondary active transport?
It is uphill process. And under this classification, symport and antiport classified.
Okay, symport and antiport. Okay. Okay, this is all about the today's
Hello.
lecture. Okay, you are right. Okay, this is all about the today's lecture. Now this is here we have finished with our first bit in a syllabus, that is absorption, in a pharmacokinetics chapter, that is absorption. Tomorrow's lecture we will start with the drug distribution.